Hello. Welcome to the Midnight Sleep Chronicles. Tonight, we journey into the past, to a time when church bells marked the hours between prayers and the smoke from cooking fires mixed with the stench of unwashed bodies and rotting waste in narrow streets. We're diving into the world of the Middle Ages, not the one you've seen in movies with noble knights and beautiful ladies in pointed hats, but the real one. The one where peasants died from hunger and plague, where the Inquisition burned people for heresy, where life was short, brutal, and filled with fear of hell. Before you settle in, take a moment to like this video if you enjoy what we do here, and write in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to know who's joining us from different corners of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan or open a window to hear the night sounds. Get comfortable, and let's begin this journey together. Tonight, we'll tell 3 stories. The first is about reality, about what life was actually like in Europe from the 5th to the 15th century. Dirty, disease-ridden, short, but surprisingly vibrant in its brutality. The second story is about legends, about what people told each other around hearths and in taverns, about crusades and knights of the Round Table, about saints and miracles, about the Black Death that took a third of Europe, about witches and the Inquisition. And the third story. The third will take us even further, into a world where demons tempt the righteous, where angels battle the forces of hell, where witches fly to Sabbaths, and in dark forests roam creatures that have no place in God's world, where everyone knew the apocalypse is near. 3 stories, 1 night, 1 journey from reality to myth. So close your eyes, breathe calmly, and imagine a cold morning in the year 1105, after the birth of Christ. A small village somewhere in Burgundy. The first rays of sun break through the cracks in wooden shutters. A rooster crows. Someone coughs in the neighboring house. The cough is wet, rattling, hasn't stopped for a week. This is the beginning of an ordinary day in the Middle Ages, a day that could be your last. Let's begin. Act 1. Reality. Life in filth and prayer. Chapter 1. Awakening in a peasant hut. Imagine you open your eyes in the cold half-light of a medieval morning, not in a warm bed under down comforters, but on a straw mattress covered with rough woolen cloth that pricks and reeks of mold and urine. The straw beneath you is matted down, infested with fleas and bedbugs that bit you all night. You don't notice the bites because you've lived this way your entire life. This is normal. Everyone has this. You're lying in a hut. This isn't a house in our understanding. It's a wooden frame with woven walls plastered with clay and dung. The roof is thatch. The floor is dirt, packed down, muddy in places. There are windows, but no glass, just holes in the walls that in winter are stuffed with rags or wooden shutters. It's spring now. The shutters are open, and a draught wanders through the hut, bringing the smell of manure from the street. In the corner, a hearth smoulders. Not a stove, just a depression in the floor with stones around it. Smoke rises upward, but there's no chimney. The smoke exits through a hole in the roof, or simply through gaps in the thatch. Most of it stays inside, hanging under the ceiling in a grey cloud. Your eyes are red, constantly watering. Your lungs are clogged with soot. By 40, if you live that long, you'll be coughing blood. But that's later. Right now, you're 23, and you're still relatively healthy. Around you on the straw, others asleep. Your wife, 3 children. your old father, 2 brothers with their families. About 15 people in one room, crowded, hot from breathing. It stinks of unwashed bodies, stale air, sour food. Against the far wall sits a trough where everyone relieves themselves at night. In the morning, someone will carry it out and splash it on the street or in the garden. There, behind a wattle partition, they keep a chicken and a pig, if you're lucky enough to have one. The animals also sleep here. In winter, they provide warmth. In summer, they stink. You get up. Your back hurts. You slept on your side because sleeping on your back is uncomfortable. The straw is too hard. Your knees ache. Arthritis starts early when you work in the fields from age 6 and stand knee-deep in cold water, weeding flax. Your teeth hurt too. One is rotting, but there's nowhere to have it pulled. There's no one who knows how. You'll have to wait until it falls out on its own, or until it gets infected so badly that your jaw swells and you die of fever. This happens often. You go to the hearth, fan the coals, add dry branches and peat. The fire flares up. On a hook hangs an iron pot, blackened with soot. In it are the remains of yesterday's soup. Grey slop made from turnips, onions, cabbage and water. Maybe a little oat flour for thickness. No meat. Meat is eaten on holidays 2 or 3 times a year. The rest of the time, vegetables, porridge, bread. If there is bread, winter is hungry. Spring is worse because the stores have run out and there's no new harvest yet. You ladle out a spoonful with a wooden spoon. The soup is cold, tasteless, but you eat. This is breakfast. This is all there is. Your stomach rumbles, but you're used to it. Hunger is a constant state. You're only full after harvest for about 2 weeks. The rest of the time, semi-starvation. Outside, voices can be heard. The village is waking. Time for work. Chapter 2. The Village and Feudal Order. You step outside the hut. Light hits your eyes. Though the sun is still low, the air is cool, damp. It smells of manure, smoke, rot. The village streets are muddy paths between huts. No pavement. When it rains, you're knee-deep in muck mixed with waste that people pour right outside their doorsteps. Chickens scratch in the mud, pigs wallow in puddles, dogs are thin, mean, gnawing on bones. The village consists of 20 huts around a common well and a small wooden church. Stone churches are only in towns or large estates. Here it's just a log structure with a wooden cross on the roof. The priest lives in a hut better than the rest. He even has a small garden. He's the only one who can read. You've never held a book, haven't seen a single one. Books are something distant, incomprehensible, holy. Common people don't touch them. You walk toward the fields. Fields surround the village, long, narrow strips of land. You have several strips. They're not yours. They belong to the seigneur, your lord. But you can work them and take part of the harvest, half or a third. Depends on the lord's mercy. The rest goes to him. Plus corvée labor. Several days a week you work the lord's fields for free. Plus taxes. Tax to grind grain at the lord's mill. Tax to bake bread in the lord's oven. Tax for the right to marry. Tax for the right to die and be buried. Taxes on everything. The seigneur lives in a castle on a hill 3 kilometers away. You've seen the castle from a distance. Stone walls, towers. You've never been inside. Common peasants aren't allowed in. The seigneur comes to the village once every few months with his retinue. Takes grain, chickens, pigs. Checks that everyone is working. Sometimes takes a girl if she catches his eye. There's no one to complain to. He's the master. You're a serf. You belong to the land. Can't leave without permission. If you do, they'll find you and bring you back and punish you, with whips or worse. But today, all is calm. The seigneur isn't here, just you and your neighbors in the fields. Men plow. You have a wooden plow with an iron tip. Iron is expensive. The tip is worn, but still serves. You harness the ox. You have one ox between you and your brother. Scrawny, old, but it plows. Women and children follow behind, breaking up clods of earth, gathering stones, sowing grain. Oats, barley, rye. Wheat is only for lords. You'll never see it. The work is hard. Your back burns. Your hands are calloused. By evening, your legs give out. But you can't stop. If you don't sow, you'll starve in winter. If you sow too little, you'll still starve because the harvest is small. Even in a good year, you harvest 3 to 4 times more from the field than you planted. In a bad year, less. That's catastrophe. Famine. Death. Chapter 3. Disease and Medicine. Old Agnes is dying. She's 52 years old, but she looks 70, hunched, toothless, blind in one eye. For the last 2 weeks she's been lying on straw, moaning. She has a growth in her belly. Hard, large, growing. The priest says it's punishment for sins. Maybe she envied a neighbor or cursed someone in her heart. God sees everything. There's no cure. There's a healer in the neighboring village, but she asks 2 silver deniers for a visit. Agnes's family doesn't have that kind of money. There are herbs, chamomile, St. John's wort, wormwood. They brew them, give her drinks. Doesn't help. Agnes grows weaker, stops eating. The priest comes, reads a prayer, gives communion. 3 days later, she dies, quietly, at night. In the morning, they wrap her in old cloth and bury her in the cemetery behind the church. No coffin. Coffins are only for the rich. Diseases are everywhere here. Dysentery from dirty water, tuberculosis from smoke in the huts, leprosy that eats people alive. Lepers are driven from the village. They live in the forest, subsisting on alms. Fever kills children every winter. Every second woman dies in childbirth or shortly after. Every second child doesn't live to age 5. Medicine is primitive. In cities there are physicians, but they treat with bloodletting and prayers. It's believed that diseases are caused by an imbalance of fluids in the body. Need to let out the bad blood. They cut a vein, blood flows into a bowl. The patient weakens, often dies. Physicians shrug. God's will. Everyone's teeth rot. By age 30, half have fallen out. The rest are black, aching. They pull them without anesthesia. The blacksmith takes pliers, yanks. You scream, blood flows. Then the wound festers, your cheek swells. Might get infected, might die, might not. There's no surgery. If you break a leg, they somehow set it and tie it to a board. Heels crooked, you'll limp. If a wound festers, they cauterize it with red-hot iron. The smell of burning flesh screams. Sometimes it helps. More often not. Life here is short. Average age at death is 35. Those who live to 50 are considered elderly. You don't expect a long life. You know, death is near. Always. Chapter 4. The Church. Fear and Salvation. Sunday, the bell rings. Everyone goes to church. Mandatory. Not coming is a sin. The seigneur watches. The village elder notes who's absent. Absentees are punished with a fine or whips. Inside, the church is dark, cold. Smells of incense and dampness. No benches. Everyone stands on the stone floor. Old people sit on the floor, leaning against the wall. The priest stands before the altar, mumbles prayers in Latin. You don't understand a word. Latin is God's language, and the language of the educated. You're common folk. You're not supposed to understand. But you know one thing. You're sinful. This is repeated constantly. You were born in sin. Everything you do is sin. Working on Sunday? Sin. Thinking about food during prayer? Sin. Desiring your neighbor's wife? Sin. Getting angry at the Señor? Sin. And a big one. Being angry at your Lord means being angry at God's will, because the Señor was placed by God. The priest tells about hell in detail. Sinners burn there forever. Flames consume their flesh, but the flesh doesn't burn away. Demons torture sinners, tear out tongues, gouge out eyes, rip them apart. And all this repeats endlessly, because in hell there's no death, only pain, eternal pain. You're afraid. Everyone is afraid. Hell is real, more real than life. Life is temporary. The torments of hell, eternal. You pray every day. Morning before work, evening before sleep. Ask God to forgive you. Ask the Virgin Mary to intercede. Ask the saints to help. The Church gives hope. If you live righteously, if you endure, suffer, obey, maybe you'll get to heaven. It's good there. No pain, hunger, cold. Eternal bliss. But to get there, you need to endure here. Not grumble, not rebel. Accept your lot. The Church takes tithes. 1/10 of the harvest. You have little as it is, but you give the tithe. Otherwise you're cursed. The priest lives best of all in the village. He has meat, wine, warm clothing. But he's God's servant. He's entitled. You don't grumble. You believe. Faith is the only thing sustaining you. Without it, life is unbearable. Chapter 5. The town. Filth and disease. Once a year you go to town. It's 2 days' journey. You walk on foot, carrying a sack of grain on your back to sell or trade for salt, iron. The town is a marvel. High stone walls, towers, gates with guards. Inside, narrow streets, houses 2 or 3 stories high, pressed against each other. People everywhere. Thousands of people. You've never seen so many at once. But the town stinks. Stinks worse than the village. Waste is poured right onto the street from windows. They shout, "Watch out," and splash a bucket of slops. If it hits you, that's your problem. The streets are covered with a layer of mud, manure, rotting garbage. Rats run everywhere. Huge, fat, brazen. They're not afraid of people. The market is noisy. Merchants shout, calling to customers, selling cloth, tools, food. You sell grain for a few copper coins. Buy a little salt, a piece of cheap iron for the plough. Spend the rest on bread and onions. Maybe buy the children an apple each. A luxury, but once a year is acceptable. In town there are craftsmen, blacksmiths, carpenters, weavers, tanners. They live better than peasants, but not much. Work from dawn to dusk. Sleep in workshops or in little rooms above them. Guilds control the trades. To become a master, you need to study 10 years, then work as a journeyman for years. Most die as journeymen. In the town centre, a cathedral, enormous stone with stained glass. Inside it's cool, even in summer. Light enters through coloured glass, creating patterns on the floor. Beautiful. Holy. You stand at the entrance. Don't dare enter deeper. This is a place for townsfolk, for nobility, not for you. Next to the cathedral, the town hall. There sit the burgomaster and city council, deciding matters, judging criminals. You see the gallows in the square. A corpse dangles on it. Thieves, murderers, heretics, all hanged here. Corpses hang for weeks, rotting, stinking. This is warning. This is law. You spend a day in town, buying, selling, watching. By evening, you leave. Spending the night here is expensive and dangerous. In towns, there are gangs, thieves. They rob at night. Better to go home. After 2 days' journey, you're back in the village, tired but alive. Chapter 6. War, Pillage and Violence. Summer. The harvest is almost ripe. Another week and you can reap. But in the morning, the village wakes to screams. Horsemen, about 20. On horses, in armor, with spears and swords. This isn't the seigneur's army. These are mercenaries, or soldiers of another baron. War is going on somewhere. You don't know what it's about. Not your business. But war has come to you. The horsemen burst into the village, shouting, demanding food, grain, livestock. Men hide. Women try to as well, but not all make it in time. Soldiers grab them, drag them into huts, screams, crying. You stand behind the house, trembling, a knife in your hand. But what's the use? One knife against 20 swords. They take everything. Chickens, pigs, grain from the barns. Burn several huts, just because, for fun. Kill an old man who tried to resist. One sword blow. The head flies off. Blood fountains. An hour later they leave. The village in ruins. Women sobbing. Children crying. The harvest trampled. Stores looted. Winter will be hungry. Maybe you won't survive. No one to complain to. The seigneur didn't protect you. He's far away. Has his own war. You're just peasants. Expendable. You rebuild what you can. Bury the dead. Pray. Wait for the next blow. War in the Middle Ages isn't battles of armies. It's pillage, violence, famine. Armies live off the land they pass through. Loot, burn, rape. Peasants suffer most. Always. Chapter 7. Cruel Laws. They caught young Marguerite. She's 16. She stole a loaf of bread from a market stall. Had been starving for 3 days. Couldn't take it. The guards grabbed her, tried her quickly. Theft is a crime. Punishment. Cut off the hand. In the square a crowd gathered. The executioner, a butcher on the side, places Marguerite's hand on a block. She screams, begs for mercy. No one listens. The axe falls. Crunch of bones, blood. The severed hand falls into the mud. They release Marguerite. She runs, clutching the stump, bleeding out. 2 days later she dies from infection. But the law has been fulfilled. Laws are cruel. For theft, amputation. For murder, hanging or quartering. The criminal is tied to 4 horses. Each pulls in its own direction. The body tears apart. For treason or heresy, burning alive. For adultery, a woman might be stoned or drowned. Torture is common. Suspects are tortured to extract confession. The rack, the wheel, pincers, red-hot tongs, break bones, tear out nails, cauterize. It's believed that under torture, a person doesn't lie. Though under torture, people confess to anything just to make it stop. Ordeals, trials by God. The suspect is made to hold red-hot iron or plunge a hand into boiling water. Then they bandage it. After 3 days, they check. If healed, innocent, God protected. If festered, guilty. Of course it always festers, but that's God's will. Nobility is judged differently. A knight who killed a peasant pays a fine. Small. A peasant who raised a hand against a knight dies painfully. Law for the poor is harsh. For the rich, lenient. Chapter 8. Hygiene. Water, filth, and death. Bathing isn't customary. It's believed that water opens pores through which diseases enter the body. People wash rarely. Once a month, maybe less often. Bodies stink. Clothes stink. Everyone's used to it. Clothes are washed even less. A peasant has one change. Tunic, pants, cloak, worn for years. Fabric soaked with sweat, dirt, grease. Lice live in the seams. Constant itching. You scratch constantly. Typhus, transmitted by lice, kills by the thousands. Teeth aren't cleaned. Don't know how. Mouths reek of decay. By age 30, teeth are black, breaking, gums bleed, scurvy from lack of vitamins, toilets are primitive. In the village, a hole in the ground behind the house or just in the bushes. In castles, latrines hanging over the wall, waste falls down into the moat or onto the slope. In towns, chamber pots, contents of which are poured onto the street. Walking through town, look up so you don't get doused. Drinking water is dirty. Taken from rivers where waste is dumped. Wells are contaminated. Water isn't boiled. They don't know it's necessary. Dysentery, cholera kill constantly. People live in filth, not because they want to. They just don't know any other way. Don't understand the connection between filth and disease. They think diseases are God's punishment or the influence of stars. Miasmas, bad air, are considered the cause of plague. So during epidemics, they burn aromatic herbs, wear pouches of fragrant herbs at the nose. Doesn't help, of course. So this was reality. Harsh, dirty, short. But this was life. People loved, laughed, hoped, had children, worked, prayed, believed that after this life would be better. But amid this greyness, stories were born. Legends about heroes in gleaming armor, about saints working miracles, about great battles for the faith, about plague that came as God's punishment, about witches burned by inquisitors. These stories were told in taverns, around hearths, in squares. They gave hope, showed that the world was bigger than a dirty hut and hunger, that there was good and evil, and good sometimes won. Now we move from facts to legends, from history to what people wanted to see, to what gave them strength to keep living. Close your eyes, breathe evenly. Imagine a great castle hall, a feast, fire in the fireplace. At the table sit knights in expensive clothes, ladies in silk dresses. A minstrel plucks the strings of a lute and begins a song about King Arthur, about the Holy Grail, about knights who were honest and noble. Listen, Act 2, Legends, Knights, Crusaders, and the Black Death. Chapter 1, Knights and the Code of Honor. Who was a true knight? Legends paint the image of a noble warrior, defender of the weak, faithful vassal, gallant cavalier. Reality was different, but legends lived their own life. A knight took an oath, loyalty to his lord, protection of the church, protection of widows and orphans, courage in battle, honesty in words. This was the code, the ideal. Few followed it completely, but everyone knew what a knight should be. Knighting was a sacred ritual. A young man, usually the son of a knight or noble lord, served as a page, then as a squire, learned to wield sword, lance, ride a horse, learned etiquette, a little reading and writing, though many knights were illiterate. On the day of knighting, the youth bathed, symbolically cleansing himself of sins, dressed in white garments, spent the night in prayer in the church, kneeling before the altar. In the morning, the priest blessed his sword. Then the Lord touched the sword to the youth's shoulders, pronouncing, "Be brave, be loyal, be just." Now he was a knight. A knight wore armor, chainmail, interwoven iron rings, weighed 20 to 30 kilograms. Over it, plate armor, plates on chest, arms, legs, helmet, shield, sword, lance. All this cost as much as a small village. Only the wealthy could afford it. A knight fought on horseback. The horse, a war horse, a destrier, also cost a fortune. Huge, strong, trained not to be frightened by battle. A knight on horseback was the tank of the Middle Ages. Clad in iron, lance forward, he could pierce an infantry formation, crush the enemy. Tournaments were the glory of knighthood, not just entertainment, but training, a way to earn, to win honor. Knights came from all over Europe, fought with lances, with swords. The winner got the armor and horse of the defeated. You could get rich, you could die. Even training lances pierced armor. Courtly love was another part of the legend. A knight devoted himself to a lady, usually unattainable, his lord's wife, a noble woman. He served her, wrote poems, sang songs, performed feats in her honor, all platonically. This was a cult, elevated, idealized. But behind the gleam of legend stood another truth. Many knights were crude, cruel, looted, raped, killed. Honor was selective. With equals they observed rules. With peasants they did what they wanted. War was a trade, pillage was profit. But legends didn't tell this. Legends showed the ideal. And people believed. Chapter 2. The Crusades. Holy War, the year 1095. Pope Urban II speaks in Clermont before a crowd. Thousands have gathered. Knights, barons, commoners. The Pope says, Jerusalem, the holy city, where Christ suffered, where he rose, is in the hands of infidels. Muslims have defiled the sanctuaries. Christians in the East suffer under their yoke. I call upon you, warriors of Christ, to take up the cross, journey to the Holy Land, liberate the Lord's sepulchre. Whoever falls in this expedition will receive forgiveness of all sins. Paradise awaits you. The crowd erupts in shouts. Deus vult. God wills it. People tear their clothes, make crosses, sew them on their cloaks. The first crusade begins. Why did they go? Many reasons. Piety, to liberate holy places, but also greed. The East is rich. There's gold, silk, spices, and politics. Younger sons of noble families didn't inherit lands. They needed to conquer their own. And fear, forgiveness of sins, a ticket to paradise, and adventure, to escape boring life, see the world. The first to go weren't knights, but the poor. The People's Crusade. Tens of thousands of peasants, craftsmen, beggars, led by charismatic preachers, Peter the Hermit, Walter the Penniless, went without plan, without supplies, looted along the way, killed Jews in German towns, considering them enemies of Christ, reached Asia Minor. The Seljuk Turks defeated them. Almost all died. But then came the knights, armies of barons, dukes, kings, Godfrey of Bouillon, Bohemond of Taranto, Raymond of Toulouse, tens of thousands of warriors clad in iron. They passed through Asia Minor, captured Antioch, besieged Jerusalem. The year 1099, Jerusalem fell. Crusaders burst into the city, and the massacre began. Muslims were slaughtered indiscriminately. Men, women, children. Jews were burned in the synagogue. Blood flowed through the streets so that it reached the ankles of horses. Chroniclers wrote, "This was God's just retribution." Crusaders went to the Holy Sepulchre, prayed, wept with joy, thanked God. After this they went looting. Crusaders founded kingdoms in the east, Jerusalem, Antioch, Tripoli, Edessa, built castles, Crac des Chevaliers, a massive fortress that stood against Muslims for a century and a half. They fought, traded, mixed with locals. But there were 8 crusades, not all successful. The second crusade failed. The third recovered some lands, but not Jerusalem. The fourth, a disgrace. Crusaders captured Constantinople, a Christian city, sacked it. The Children's Crusade. Thousands of children went to liberate Jerusalem through prayers. Most were sold into slavery. By the 13th century, Crusaders had lost all possessions. The last fortress, Acre, fell in 1291. The Crusades ended, but legends about them lived, about noble knights fighting for the faith, about holy war against infidels, about martyrdom and glory. Chapter 3. The Inquisition. hunting heretics heresy. A terrible word. It's an opinion different from church teaching. It's doubt in dogma. It's a threat to the salvation of souls. And the church fought heresy with fire and sword. The Inquisition was founded in the 1230s. Purpose: to identify, judge, eradicate heresy. Inquisitors, usually Dominicans or Franciscans, traveled through Europe, interrogated suspects, judged. The process was simple: denunciation. Someone reports that a neighbor spoke against the church, didn't attend mass, associated with heretics. The inquisitor summons the suspect. Interrogation. The accused doesn't know who denounced them, has no lawyer, must prove innocence themselves. Difficult when the judges have already decided. If they don't confess, torture is applied. Questioning. The rack stretches the body, joints dislocate. The Spanish boot crushes legs, breaks bones. Water dripping on the head drives insane. Strappado. Suspended by arms tied behind the back, shoulders dislocate. Pain unbearable. They confess to anything. Confession is conviction. Those who repented might be pardoned. Punishment: prison, penance, confiscation of property. The unrepentant face the stake. Auto da fe, act of faith, public ceremony. In the square they build a platform. The heretic is led in a San Benito, yellow robe with painted flames. They read the sentence. The crowd shouts, spits, then led to the stake, tied up, wood piled around. The priest offers one last time to repent. If yes, strangled with rope before burning. Mercy. If no, lit alive. Flames leap up. Skin blackens, cracks, screams, smell of burning flesh. The crowd watches. This is a lesson. This is warning. The witch hunt began later, in the 15th century, but roots in the Inquisition. Women were accused of pacts with the devil, hexing, murder through witchcraft, tortured, drowned, tied to a board, thrown in water, floated, witch, water rejected the sinner, drowned, innocent, but already dead, burned by the thousands, Germany, France, Spain, hysteria, fear. The Inquisition lasted centuries, the last burning in Europe, 18th century. But the peak was the Middle Ages. Then fear was strongest, and the Church used this fear. Chapter 4. The Black Death, God's punishment, the year 1348. Plague came to Europe, bubonic plague, the Black Death. It started in the east. Mongols were besieging the Genoese fortress of Kaffa in Crimea. Plague broke out among the Mongols. They catapulted corpses of plague victims over the walls. The first biological warfare. The Genoese fled on ships, brought plague to Europe. The disease spread with the speed of wildfire. Ships, caravans, refugees carried it from city to city. Symptoms appeared suddenly. High fever, buboes, swollen lymph nodes in neck, groin, armpits, size of an egg, black, festering, pain unbearable, vomiting blood, coughing blood, black spots on skin, subcutaneous hemorrhages, hence the name. Death came quickly, fell ill in the morning, dead by evening, sometimes after a few days, but rarely longer than a week. Few survived. Those who survived had immunity, but most died. Plague spared no one. Rich, poor, kings, beggars. A third of Europe died. In some regions, half. Entire villages died out. Cities were depopulated. Fields overgrown with weeds. No one to plow. So many corpses they couldn't bury them in time. Piled into. Mass graves, pits covered with lime. The smell of decay hung over cities. People didn't understand the cause. Medicine powerless. Bloodletting didn't help. Prayers didn't help. Doctors wore masks with long beaks stuffed with aromatic herbs. Thought miasmas, bad air, was the cause. Didn't know about fleas and rats. They sought the guilty, Jews, accused them of poisoning wells, pogroms. Thousands of Jews burned alive. In Strasbourg, they burned 2,000. Though Jews also died from plague, logic didn't work. A scapegoat was needed. Flagellants, movement of self-flagellation. Groups of people walked through cities, whipped themselves with scourges until bloody. Believed plague was punishment for sins. Need to atone, torment the flesh. The church declared them heretics, but the movement grew. Some went mad, feasted, reveled, sinned. We die tomorrow, so let's live today. Orgies, drunkenness, debauchery. Morality collapsed. Plague returned several times. Tuxtantis tries shimtai sheshias deshimt Viennas. Tuxtantis tries shimtai sheshias deshimt Devini. More waves in the 15th century. Each time took thousands. Europe changed. Labor shortage led to wage increases, weakening of serfdom. The church lost authority. Prayers didn't save. The world became darker, more cynical. People remembered plague as the end of the world. Apocalypse, God's punishment, and fear remained. Fear of the invisible enemy, of disease, of death. Chapter 5. Joan of Arc, the warrior maiden, the year 1429. France in despair. The 100 Years' War with England. The French are losing. The English control the north. The Dauphin Charles, heir to the throne, is weak, indecisive. Orléans is besieged. If Orléans falls, France falls. And then she appears. A girl, a peasant from the village of Domremy, 17 years old. Her name is Joan. She comes to the Dauphin, says, "God sent me." Voices of saints, Archangel Michael, Saints Catherine and Margaret, told me to save France, lift the siege of Orléans, crown you at Reims. The Dauphin is confused. A girl. To fight. Absurd. But what is there to lose? He gives her armor, a banner, a detachment of soldiers. Joan rides to Orléans. The soldiers laugh at first. A girl in armor. But Joan is serious. She's inspired, says God is with them, that they'll win. And something in her words, in her eyes, makes them believe. At Orléans, there's battle. The English in fortifications. The French attack. Joan is at the front, banner in hand. An arrow pierces her shoulder. She falls. Soldiers panic. But Joan rises, pulls out the arrow, shouts, "Forward, God is with us." Soldiers inspired. Attack with new vigor. The English retreat. Orléans liberated. Joan leads the army onward. Victory after victory. Patay, Troyes, Reims. At Reims they crown Charles VII. Joan stands beside him. Her mission accomplished. But war continues. Joan wants to march on Paris. The king hesitates. Politicians scheme. Joan attacks Paris, fails, wounded again. Then Burgundians, English allies, capture her at Compiègne. Sell her to the English. The English hate her. Witch, they say. Heretic. Dresses like a man, hears voices. Devil's work. They try her in Rouen. Inquisition. Bishop Cochon leads the proceedings. Joan interrogated for months. She answers simply, honestly, not afraid. Says God is with her. They force her to recant. Threaten the stake. She recants. Sentence. Life imprisonment. But then she wears men's clothing again. Provocation or desperation. This is relapse. Sentence. Death. May 30th, 1431. Square in Rouen. Joan is 19. They lead her to the stake. The crowd shouts. Some cry. Joan tied up. Wood piled high. The priest reads the sentence. Joan prays. Asks for a cross. They give her one. She holds it. Looks to heaven. They light the fire. Flames quickly engulf the wood. Joan cries out, "Jesus! Jesus!" Smoke envelops her. After several minutes, the cries fall silent. The ashes will be scattered, so no relics remain. The English thought Joan's death would break the French, but the opposite happened. She became a martyr, a symbol. France revived. 20 years later, the English were expelled. The 100 Years' War ended. Joan was rehabilitated 25 years later, declared innocent, in the 20th century canonized. Saint Joan of Arc, the Maid of Orleans, Saviour of France. Legend about her lives. A peasant girl who heard God's voices, who led an army, who changed the course of history, and who burned at the stake without betraying her faith. Chapter 6. Legends of King Arthur. Was there a King Arthur? Historians debate, maybe a British chieftain of the 5th-6th century who fought against Saxons, maybe a myth. But by the Middle Ages, legends about him had spread throughout Europe. Arthur was son of King Uther Pendragon. Uther loved the wife of Duke Gorlois, Igraine. The wizard Merlin helped Uther enter her chamber by taking the form of her husband. From this union, Arthur was born. After Uther's death, Arthur was raised in secret. When it came time to choose a new king, Merlin arranged a test. In a stone was a sword. An inscription read, "Whoever pulls this sword is the true king of Britain." Many tried. No one could. Arthur, a youth unknown to anyone, pulled the sword easily, thus became king. Arthur gathered knights, the best warriors, founded the Round Table at Camelot. The Table Round so all were equal, no one more important. Each knight gave oath, loyalty, honor, protection of the weak. Among the knights were legends. Lancelot, the greatest warrior, undefeated in battle. Gawain, Arthur's nephew, whose strength tripled at noon. Percival, pure of heart. Galahad, the spotless knight. Arthur married Guinevere, a beautiful lady, but Guinevere fell in love with Lancelot. Lancelot loved her. They hid it, but rumors spread. Betrayal, schism. Some knights sided with Lancelot, others with Arthur. Then Mordred, Arthur's son by his sister Morgan, result of sorcery and deception, raised rebellion. Arthur fought against him. The last battle at Camlan. Bloody slaughter. Knights of the Round Table fell, almost all. Arthur killed Mordred, but Mordred mortally wounded Arthur. Dying Arthur was carried to a lake. There appeared a hand from the water, the Lady of the Lake. Arthur ordered them to return to her the sword Excalibur, given to him at the beginning. The sword was thrown into the water. The hand caught it, pulled it down. Arthur was laid in a boat. 3 women in black sailed with him to the island of Avalon. Legend says Arthur didn't die. He sleeps on Avalon. When Britain is in mortal danger, he'll return and save his people again. Legends of the Holy Grail are also connected with Arthur. The Grail, the cup from which Christ drank at the Last Supper. Joseph of Arimathea collected Christ's blood in it at the crucifixion. The cup possessed miraculous power, healed, gave eternal life. Knights of the Round Table sought the Grail. Many set out. Most didn't return. Only 3 came close: Percival, Bors, and Galahad. Galahad, pure of soul, found the Grail, beheld it, drank, and ascended to heaven. Legends about Arthur inspired knights of the Middle Ages, the ideal of nobility, brotherhood, honor. The Round Table became a symbol. Many kings tried to create something similar. Edward III of England founded the Order of the Garter, inspired by legends of Arthur. Legends gave hope. In a world of filth, betrayal, cruelty, they painted another world, where honor matters, where good wins, where heroes are real. Chapter 7. Robin Hood, the noble outlaw, another legend. Robin Hood, the noble robber. Robin was a yeoman, a free man, an archer, lived in Sherwood Forest in England. Time, the reign of King Richard the Lionheart, who went on crusade. England is ruled by his brother John, cruel and greedy. Robin fell from grace. In one version, killed a royal deer, for which he was declared outlaw. In another, stood up for peasants against the unjust sheriff of Nottingham. Either way, he became an outlaw. Robin gathered a band, merry men, as they were called. Little John, a huge fellow, Robin's best friend. Friar Tuck, a monk who loved to eat and drink but was honest and brave. Will Scarlet, Alan a Dale, all outlaws, all loyal to Robin. They lived in the forest, robbed the rich, not just robbed, took from those who profited unjustly. The sheriff collecting exorbitant taxes, the bishop living in luxury while people starved. Noble lords oppressing peasants. What they stole, they gave to the poor. Robin came to a village at night, left a bag of gold at a widow's door, or handed out coins to hungry children. The people loved him. For them, he was a hero. For the authorities, a criminal. The sheriff of Nottingham hated Robin, tried to catch him, set ambushes, offered rewards, but Robin was clever, knew the forest like the back of his hand, always escaped. Once the sheriff organized an archery tournament, prize, a golden arrow. Robin knew it was a trap, but couldn't resist. Came in disguise, won, took the arrow, revealed himself, shouted, "Robin Hood sends his regards," and disappeared into the crowd. Sheriff furious. In legends, Robin meets King Richard, returned from crusade. Richard, disguised, wanders into Sherwood. Robin invites him to share a meal. They converse. Richard sees that Robin is just, pardons him. Robin returns to society. But in other versions, Robin dies, betrayed, wounded. Before death shoots a final arrow. Where it falls, there bury him. Legend of Robin Hood inspired for centuries. Fighter for justice, defender of the oppressed. In a cruel world where nobility robs the people, where laws are unjust, Robin was hope. Faith that someone fights for the poor. Chapter 8. Saints and Miracles. The Middle Ages were a time of saints, people whose faith was so strong that God worked miracles through them. Francis of Assisi, a wealthy youth who renounced riches, took off expensive clothes right in the square, gave them to his father, went to preach poverty, humility, love for creation, founded the Franciscan order. They say he talked with birds, with wolves. The wolf of Gubbio terrorized the town. Francis tamed it with a word. The wolf became docile. Dominic de Guzman founded the Dominican order, fought heresy through preaching, not the sword. Though later Dominicans became inquisitors, Dominic worked miracles, raised the dead, healed the sick. Saint Catherine of Siena, a woman, a mystic, received visions from Christ, convinced the Pope to return to Rome from Avignon, where he lived under influence of the French king. Her words had power. Miracles were everywhere. Holy relics healed. People went on pilgrimage to saints' relics. Every cathedral, every church was proud of its relics. A bone of Saint Peter, a tooth of Saint Paul, a hair of the Virgin Mary, a piece of the true cross. Trade in relics flourished. Many were fakes, but people believed. Icons wept. Statues of the Virgin Mary bled. These were signs, warnings. People crowded, prayed, hoped for a miracle. Miracles gave hope. In a world of suffering, where medicine is powerless, where famine and plague take thousands, miracle was the only salvation. And people believed. Because without faith, you can't survive. So these were legends, stories of heroes, of saints, of battles and miracles. They gave meaning, showed that even in dark times, there is light. But behind the legends stood something greater, a world of spirits, a world where forces of good and evil fought for human souls, where demons tempted, where angels protected, where boundaries between reality and mysticism were thin. The medieval person lived in this world constantly. For them, demons were as real as neighbors, The devil walked among people. Witches flew at night. In dark forests dwelt creatures not from God. Every shadow could hide demons. Every strange sound, a sign of unholy power. Life was constant struggle. Prayer was a weapon. The cross was protection. Holy water was a shield. Now we move into this world. The world of mythology. The world of faith and fear. The world where the apocalypse was not a question, but an inevitability. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Imagine a dark church. Candles flicker. Shadows dance on walls. A priest whispers an exorcism prayer. And in the corner, something stirs. Something not from God. Listen. Act 3. Mythology. Demons, angels, and the end of the world. Chapter 1. Demons in Christian tradition. The medieval Christian knew the world is full of demons, fallen angels who followed Lucifer in his rebellion against God. God cast them from heaven into hell, but they didn't stay there. They walk the earth, tempt, deceive, steal souls. Demons are numerous, a hierarchy of evil, like the hierarchy of angels. At the top, Lucifer, Satan, the devil, prince of darkness. He was an angel of light, most beautiful of God's creations. But pride ruined him. He wanted to be equal to God, rebelled, and fell. Now he rules hell, hates humanity, lusts to destroy every soul. Under him, 7 princes of hell, each responsible for their own sin. Lucifer, pride; Mammon, greed; Asmodeus, lust; Leviathan, envy; Beelzebub, gluttony; Satan, wrath; Belphegor, sloth. Below, legions of demons, each with specialization. Incubi, demons who seduce women, appear at night in form of handsome men, sleep with women. From such unions are born children cursed, deformed, evil. Succubi, female demons who seduce men, drain life force. Demons tempt people constantly, whisper in ears, stoke anger, lust, greed. A person thinks these are their own thoughts, but it's demons. They're invisible, but present everywhere. Possession. A demon enters a person, takes over the body. The possessed behaves strangely, speaks in languages they never learned, blasphemes, foams at the mouth, convulses, displays superhuman strength, exorcism, expelling the demon. A priest reads prayers, sprinkles holy water, presses across to the possessed. The demon resists, screams, spits, growls. The struggle lasts hours, sometimes days. In the end, if the priest is stronger, the demon is expelled, flies out with a groan. The person falls, exhausted but free. But demons aren't always loud, sometimes quiet, insidious, appear in form of an angel of light, promise wealth, power, knowledge. Ask for little, just your soul. Sign a contract in blood, and all is yours, until death, and after, eternity in hell. Many agreed. Sorcerers, alchemists, the desperate, sold their souls, got what they wanted. But in the end, the devil took his due. Death is terrible. Demons appear for the sinner, drag them to hell, alive, screaming. Chapter 2. Angels, the Lord's host. But against demons stood angels, God's host, 9 choirs, 3 hierarchies. First hierarchy, closest to God, seraphim, 6-winged, burning with love for God, surround his throne, sing holy, holy, holy. Cherubim, guardians of knowledge, guards of the Garden of Eden. Thrones, bear God's glory. Second hierarchy, dominions, govern the universe by God's will. Virtues, work miracles, powers, fight demons. Third hierarchy, closest to humans. Principalities, guide nations. Archangels, God's messengers. Angels, guardians of people. Every person has a guardian angel. From birth to death, the angel guards, guides, protects from demons. When a person sins, the angel grieves. When repents, rejoices. At the hour of death, the angel fights demons for the soul. If the person is righteous, the angel wins, carries the soul to paradise. Archangel Michael, greatest warrior, commander of the heavenly host, he struck down Lucifer, cast him from heaven, depicted with sword and spear, trampling the dragon, Satan. Michael judges souls on scales, righteous, left to paradise, sinful, right to hell. Archangel Gabriel, messenger, appeared to the Virgin Mary, announced Christ's birth, carries the most important messages from God. Archangel Raphael, healer, heals the sick, helps travelers. Angels appeared to saints. Visions. Catherine of Siena saw Christ surrounded by angels. John on Patmos saw angels in Revelation. Many saints had visions where angels instructed, comforted, warned. The battle between angels and demons goes on constantly. Invisible war for every soul. On earth, in the air, in human hearts. The medieval person knew they are the battlefield. In them fight forces of light and darkness. Their choice determines who wins. Chapter 3. Witches and Witchcraft. Witches, women who made pacts with the devil, sold their souls for magical power. Who became a witch? According to beliefs, women rejected by society, old, lonely, bitter, or young, beautiful but proud. The devil appeared, offered power, taught witchcraft. In return, worship. Witches could do much. Hexing, sent diseases on people, livestock. Cow stops giving milk. Child fell ill for no reason. Husband went blind. A witch cursed them. Pestilence, sent plague on villages. Love potions, made people fall in love. Or hate. Poisons, killed enemies with toxins. Witches flew to Sabbaths every night, especially under full moon, especially on Walpurgis night, anointed themselves with ointment made from infant fat, poisonous herbs, blood, sat on a broom, flew out through the chimney, flew over forest to a secret place. There gathered hundreds of witches. In the center, the devil, in form of a goat or black man, the Sabbath, an orgy. Witches danced naked, copulated with the devil, with demons, with each other, ate infants, drank blood, made sacrifices, danced until dawn, then flew away, home by morning as if nothing happened. How to recognize a witch? Signs, warts, moles, devil's marks, cat, toad, raven, household demons, witches' helpers, lives alone, talks to herself, practices healing, suspicious, herbs, potions, spells. The line between healing and witchcraft is thin. Accusing someone of witchcraft is easy. A neighbor envied, slandered, or a woman is simply strange, not like everyone else. The inquisitor or secular judge comes, arrest, interrogation, torture, water test, tie hands and feet, throw in water. If sinks, innocent, God accepted, but dead. If floats, witch, water rejected the sinner. Pull out, judge, burn. Searching for devil's mark. Strip naked. Examine every centimeter of skin. Stick needles in moles. If doesn't bleed, doesn't feel pain. Devil's mark. Of course, on old skin, in calluses you can find numb spots. Proof. Under torture they confess. Name accomplices. Arrest new ones. Chain reaction. Hysteria. In some regions they burned hundreds of women. Peak of witch hunting, 15th to 17th centuries, but beginning in Middle Ages. Fear of witches real. People believed witches steal children, spoil crops, cause storms, burn a witch, protect the village, save souls. Sometimes victims were healers, women who actually healed with herbs, helped birthing women, treated colds, set bones. But the church was suspicious. Where's the knowledge from? From the devil. Easier to burn than investigate. Chapter 4. The Wild Hunt and Forest Spirits. Besides demons and angels were other beings, remnants of pagan beliefs that Christianity couldn't eradicate: the wild hunt. On dark nights, especially in winter, through the sky races a hunt. Ghostly riders, dogs with burning eyes, horses whose hooves don't touch ground. Leading the hunt is a terrible hunter, in different regions called differently: Hurler, Odin, the wild huntsman. Whoever is caught in the path of the wild hunt dies or goes mad. Better to hide, close doors, don't look out windows. Hear a horn, barking, hoofbeats, fall face down in mud. Don't move, the hunt will pass. If you're lucky, forests full of spirits, Lashai in Slavic lands, lords of the forest, led travelers astray into thickets. Could help if you respect them, bring a gift. Could destroy if you offend. Water spirits in rivers, lakes, drowned swimmers, especially children. Sacrifices needed. In some places before building a bridge, they threw a sacrifice into water, person or animal. Appeased the water spirit, spirits of the dead. Not all souls went to heaven or hell immediately. Some remained, tied to place of death. Suicides, murdered, unburied. They wandered, appeared to the living, asked for prayers, revenge, fulfillment of promises. Cemeteries at night dangerous. There walk the dead. Vampires in Slavic and Eastern European beliefs. Dead risen from graves. Drink blood of living. To kill a vampire, need to drive an aspen stake through the heart, cut off head, burn body. Fairies in Celtic lands, hill folk, not evil, but dangerous. If you enter their world, time flows differently. Spend a night there, return. 100 years have passed. Everyone died. You don't recognize the world. The church fought these beliefs, declared them demonic. But people didn't forget. Left milk for the house spirit, hung iron over door from evil spirits, wore amulets, whispered spells. Christianity and paganism mixed. Officially all Christians, but secretly remembered old gods, old spirits. Chapter 5. Visions of Hell and Heaven. The Middle Ages were a time of visions. Saints, mystics, common people saw the afterlife. Told, wrote down. Vision of Tundale. Irish knight Tundale suddenly died. Soul left body. An angel led him to the afterlife. First to hell. Hell is horror. Valleys of fire where sinners burn but don't burn up. Rivers of boiling sulfur where adulterers boil. Mountains of ice where traitors froze. Demons torture sinners, each sin punished specifically. Gluttons sit at table full of rotten food, forced to eat forever. Misers choke on gold. The proud broken crawl on all fours. At hell's center, Lucifer, huge, black, with wings but chained. He devours sinners, digests, excretes, and devours again. Eternal cycle. Tundale saw acquaintances in hell. Kings, bishops, knights, sinned, punished. The angel explained, no title saves. God judges by deeds. Then purgatory, place of temporary torments. Souls here suffer, but hope exists. Prayers of living help, shorten the term. Can get to paradise. And finally, heaven. Gardens full of flowers that never wilt. Rivers of pure water. Light, but not from sun, from God. Souls of righteous walk in white robes. Sing psalms, rejoice. No pain, sorrow, fear. Only bliss. At the center, God's throne. Blinding light. Angels surround. Saints closest. Virgin Mary beside. Christ on throne. Tundale fell prostrate, didn't dare look. Bliss unbearable. The angel returned Tundale to body. He woke, changed, gave away wealth, became a monk, told of the vision. It was written down, read throughout Europe. Reminder, life is short, eternity long. Dante's vision. Dante Alighieri wrote the Divine Comedy. Journey through hell, purgatory, heaven. Detailed, vivid, terrifying. 9 circles of hell, each for specific sins. The deeper, the heavier the sins, the more terrible the punishments. Dante's descriptions inspired artists, sculptors. Images of hell covered church walls. The medieval person saw this every Sunday. Reminder, don't sin. Hell waits. Chapter 6. The Devil Among People. The devil didn't sit in hell. He walked among people, tempted, deceived, made deals. Stories about pacts with the devil numerous. Theophilus, a cleric who lost his position, became angry, went to a sorcerer. He summoned the devil. The devil offered, sign a contract in blood, and I'll restore your position, give you wealth. Theophilus signed, got everything, lived in luxury, but conscience tormented. He prayed to the Virgin Mary, begged for forgiveness. The Virgin took pity, appeared to him, snatched the contract from the devil, returned it to Theophilus. He repented, burned the contract, died righteous. Such stories taught it's never too late to repent. The Virgin Mary, saints can save even from devil's clutches, but better not to get involved. The devil is cunning, appears in different guises, handsome youth offering wealth, old man promising wisdom, animal, black dog, cat, snake. You can recognize him, hooves instead of feet, horns, hides under hood, smell of sulfur. But sometimes he's perfect. Can't recognize, seduces, promises, and person is caught. Too late understands, soul no longer belongs to them. There were saints opposing the devil. Saint Anthony the Hermit lived in desert, prayed. Devil tempted him, appeared as beautiful women. Anthony turned away, prayed. Devil sent demons. They beat Anthony, tormented him. He endured, prayed. In the end, devil retreated. Anthony won. Saint Martin of Tours. Devil appeared to him as Christ, shone, said, I am Christ, come to you. Martin asked, where are the nail wounds? Devil disappeared. Because wounds are symbol of Christ's sacrifice, devil couldn't show them. Stories taught, be vigilant, devil is near. But faith, prayer, holiness, protect. Chapter 7. Apocalypse, the end is near. The medieval person lived expecting the end of the world. Apocalypse was not a question, but inevitability. Question only when. Book of Revelation of John the Divine was read, discussed, interpreted. 7 seals, 4 horsemen, beasts from the abyss, battle of Armageddon, second coming of Christ, last judgment, signs of end times sought everywhere, plague, first horseman, pestilence, war, second, famine, third, death, fourth, all present constantly, so the end is near. Comet in sky, sign, earthquake, sign, birth of monsters, sign, eclipse, sign. Everything interpreted as harbinger. The year 1000 from Christ's birth was expected as the end. 1,000 years passed. Time's up. People prayed, repented, gave away property, waited. Nothing happened. Relief. But also disappointment. Then new dates. 1333 to 1,300 years after Christ's death. Waited again. Nothing. 14th century, plague. Here it is. The end. But no. World continued. Prophets appeared. Predicted exact dates. Gathered followers. Went to mountains. Waited. Dates passed. Prophets either admitted error or announced new date. But belief in apocalypse didn't fade, because the Bible said, it will come. We don't know the day, don't know the hour, but it will come, like a thief in the night. Last judgment depicted on church walls, Christ on throne, Archangel Michael with scales, right side righteous, led to paradise, left side sinners, dragged by demons to hell. Below the dead rise from graves, bodies reassemble, souls return, all judged, book of life open, every deed recorded, nothing forgotten, slightest sin remembered, every virtue, too, weighed, sentence passed, eternity determined. The medieval person lived under this shadow. Every day could be the last. Not of the day personally, of the world. Need to be ready. Live righteously. Repent. Pray. Because when the end comes, it's too late. Chapter 8. Miracles and Omens. But the world was also full of miracles. Signs that God is near, that good exists. Icons weep. Statue of Virgin Mary sheds tears. People come, pray, believe. Many healed. Blind see. Lame walk. This is miracle. Stigmata. Francis of Assisi prayed. Saw a seraph with crucified Christ. After this on, Francis's hands, feet, side appeared wounds. Like Christ's wounds from nails and spear, bled, hurt. Francis hid them, but after death they saw. This is sign of holiness. Incorrupt relics. Saints die. Buried. Years later, open grave. Body hasn't decomposed. Looks alive. No smell of decay. This is sign. God preserved saint's body. Relics become relic. Heal. Work miracles. Blood of Saint Januarius in Naples. Dried blood in glass vial. 3 times a year the vial is brought out. They pray. Blood liquefies. Becomes liquid. Red. If doesn't liquefy, bad sign. Disaster awaits city. Usually liquefies. Miracle. Visions of the blessed. Catherine, Bernard. Many others saw Christ, the Virgin, angels. Conversed. Received revelations. Their visions recorded. Read. Inspire. Miracles of saints. Martin of Tours divided cloak with beggar. That night Christ appeared to him in that half of cloak. Nicholas of Myra resurrected 3 children killed and pickled by butcher. George the Ortiz, victory bearer, killed dragon, saved princess. These stories gave hope, showed evil isn't all powerful. Good is real. God acts. Saints help. Prayer works. In a world of darkness, fear, disease, death, miracles were light. Faith, hope. Without them, you can't survive. Conclusion. So this was the world of the Middle Ages. 3 layers, 3 stories. Reality was dirty, cruel, short. Peasants worked to exhaustion, died young from hunger and disease. Towns stank. Plague took thousands. Laws were cruel. The church ruled through fear of hell. Life was a struggle for survival. Every day. Legends were brighter. Knights in shining armor fought for honor. Crusaders liberated the Holy Land. Robin Hood defended the poor. Joan of Arc heard God's voices. King Arthur and the Round Table showed the ideal. Saints worked miracles. Legends gave meaning. Showed that even in dark times, glory, honor, heroism are possible. Mythology was deeper. Demons tempted. Angels protected. The devil walked among people. Witches flew to Sabbaths. The wild hunt raced through the sky. Hell and heaven were real. Apocalypse waited. Every day was a battle for the soul. The world was full of spirits, miracles, horrors. Faith was a weapon, prayer, a shield. The medieval person lived in all 3 worlds simultaneously, worked in the field, dirty, hungry, but dreamed of heroes and believed that God and angels are near, that their soul matters, that after death eternal bliss or eternal torment awaits. We today are far from this. Live in comfort, safety. Don't believe in demons. Don't expect apocalypse. Don't fear hell. But something in these stories resonates. Maybe it's longing for times when the world was simpler, good and evil clearly defined. Faith was strong, meaning clear. Maybe it's recognition that life was always difficult. Our ancestors suffered more than us, but survived, loved, hoped, created beauty, cathedrals, manuscripts, songs, in the darkest times. Maybe it's a reminder that human nature doesn't change. We're still the same. Fear death, seek meaning, dream of heroes, believe good will win. Or at least hope. The Middle Ages ended long ago, but its shadows are still with us, in legends of knights, in fear of the unknown, in faith that beyond this world is another. Maybe medieval people were right about one thing. Life is a battle, not with a sword, maybe, but a struggle for meaning, for hope, to leave something after us. They left. Cathedrals that stand for centuries, legends we retell, faith that survived plague, wars, inquisition. Maybe we'll also leave something for those who come after, who will remember our time as we remember theirs. Good night. Thank you for being with us tonight in the Midnight Sleep Chronicles. Come back. There are many more stories ahead, many worlds, many journeys through time. For now, close your eyes, breathe calmly. May you dream of castles on hills. May you dream of knights in armor. May you dream of a world where faith was strong and death was not the end, but the beginning. Until we meet again.